Hey guys, welcome back. Modii here with another one of Modii's Mondays. Mondays with Modii. God, why can I not remember that? Mondays with Modii's. Pretty simple. A couple quick things to take care of right off the bat. I dyed my hair. You'll get used to it. You're okay. Your world isn't falling apart. Your video was fine. This is just what I look like now. Deal with it. Okay, moving on. So last episode we talked a lot about Game Crazy, and I was going to do a little bit more Game Crazy stuff, and then I realized that a lot of the Game Crazy and GameStop stuff is very parallel to each other. A lot of the stories kind of go together. So I realized I've kind of put it together. Now, one big thing when I get, and really the GameStop thing is really why I started doing this line of this series about the gaming stuff. Let me start off by saying I'm not affiliated with GameStop. I have no connection to GameStop. I worked there for 4.5 years as a manager. But beyond that, personally, from a personal business aspect, I could care less about GameStop. What I do care about, though, is people making judgments while being misinformed and not having information. So this vlog might be a little bit drier than the rest because it's really going to be talking about numbers and statistics, but it's a foundation for other things I want to talk about in upcoming videos. So I thought I'd make this so you guys kind of had an idea. So one of the big questions that everybody always talks about is GameStop evil? GameStop's a company. GameStop is a corporation. GameStop's sole purpose of existing is to get product, sell product, make a profit. That's it. They're not a charity. They're not an organization. They're not anything like that. They are literally just a company. They exist to make a profit. It doesn't make them evil. It makes them capitalist. Welcome to America. If you like the old red, white, and blue, this is part of it. So one of the things I wanted to kind of explain, because I think there's a big misconception in the world, and this is not just GameStop, but this is a variety of different mom and pop local stores like GameStop, and even some ones that may be kind of regionally big, cover a few states and whatnot. So what I want to talk about is GameStop making money and how GameStop makes money and how GameStop pays the bills and the employees and everything else. One thing I hear a lot of people on YouTube complain about is the trade prices. We'll get to that in a minute. That's a big one. How, GameStop doesn't do this for them or do that for them or do this for them. GameStop doesn't know them. And you can make the argument, well, they should be more concerned about this, that, and the other thing. We'll get to that. And it seems like 90% of the time when I watch because I watch a lot of these like GameStop is evil videos, and what ends up happening is it turns out most of the stories are the employees at a GameStop do some messed up stuff. But they work for GameStop, so obviously it's their fault. So, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of set down kind of a foundation, a basis for some of the other information we're going to have. That way you guys would know it. So, here we go. So, GameStop carries a variety of stuff. Now, let me start off by saying I haven't worked for GameStop in about 7 years. I've been doing YouTube pretty much full time for about 4 years, YouTube and streaming for about 4 years. I owned my own ice cream truck for a couple of years, so it's probably been 6 to 7 years since I've worked for GameStop. So some of this information might be outdated, but we'll get to more current information soon, because I'm sure you guys have heard lots about GameStop's current situation. So starting off, of the things GameStop sells, we're going to start off kind of on the new side of things. So GameStop obviously carries new systems, new accessories, and new games. New systems, there's no money made. It's actually a loss of money. Now, I don't have exact figures for current systems in front of me, but when I used to do this job, I did see the figures from when the PlayStation 3 launched. Now, the PlayStation 3, I believe, came out at like $400. It was like $300-$400. But the statistics I saw, now mind you, when a system comes out, everything for it is more expensive. Not just to the consumer, but to the company like Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, because all of the products are new. They're in, the boards, the chipsets, the disc readers, the everything is a lot of time custom made for these systems. So at the beginning, there's kind of a lack of these items because they have to be made completely new. And when there's a lack of an item, supply and demand, which is a phrase you're going to get to know by watching this series, is costs you more money. It does. So when the PlayStation 3 launched, I believe it cost you or someone buying the system about $400. I think it was $400 when it came out, which of course everybody lost their minds on. It was so expensive. I did see the figures for it when I worked at GameStop because I had a pretty cool DM and he let me kind of see some of those numbers. And it cost GameStop just shy of $800 to buy one of those systems. So if I think it was like $750, $760, something like that. So by selling you a system, GameStop would lose $300 to $400. By selling you a system completely legit, they would lose more than what they made. For Sony, it was costing just around $1,200 to make. Now, of course, these prices went down over time, and that's a lot of the time when you see a system price drop. I think when the PlayStation 3 hit $300, I want to say GameStop was spending about $5 and change, and the system cost about $8 to make. So it was a pretty big drop, but it was still loss in money. When it comes to new games, here's another big thing that a lot of people don't realize is when it comes to new games, let's say you buy a game and it's $60. We're not talking collector's editions or special editions, just standard version of a game. It costs about $60 for you to buy. Before tax. We're not talking about tax in any of this. Well, that game, 95% of the time, costs GameStop, Walmart, Best Buy, whoever else, $90 or $55. Okay, so they make $5 off of of selling you a new game. That's not much. You buy a meal at McDonald's for $7, they're probably making $6 profit. So buying a Happy Meal at McDonald's brings in more money than selling a $60 brand new game to somebody. Now, the big thing that you got to keep in mind with that is that if you do the math on it, let's say, and I'm kind of outdated on this, I'm just going to pick a game, Red Dead Redemption 2. That game comes out, it's at $60, brand new. They buy it for $55. They make $5. If one copy of that game gets stolen, either by a customer, an employee, it falls off a truck, anything along those lines, GameStop would then have to sell, I think, what's the math? I did the math earlier, like 8 copies of that game to break even. Because 8 times 5 is $60. That pretty much gets that money back. So one game gone missing, one game messed up being rung up, one game, somebody comes in the store and complains about something and gets, a discount off the game. They have to sell multiple copies of that game just to break even. And games go missing in shipments, games go missing, all kinds of stuff all the time. Giant company with between 5,000 and 7,000 stores, things are going to happen. A lot of the theft was actually more internal than it was people from the outside. Once again, later videos. Accessories was the one new thing that made money, and that varied. First-party accessories, some controllers made by Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, headsets, hard drives, whatever. Anything made by those companies. It was better than the games. I want to say I think the Xbox controllers were $60, and I believe GameStop bought them for $45. So it's about $15. It's not great profit, but it's something. Third-party accessories did a lot better. So if you had a $40 controller made by, say, Mad Catz or something like that, a lot of time that $40 controller only cost GameStop $15, $20. So if you're ever curious why a lot of these places really highlight and push third-party controllers, that's why. Once again, it's a company that's trying to make money. That's all they're there to do. Okay, they're not there to babysit you. They're not there to coddle you. They have a place. You choose to come in. You put down your money. You buy an item and you go home. They make a profit. That's how this works. So the one thing a lot of people might ask is, why do they even sell new? Why do they sell new systems? Why do they sell, especially new systems? Because you lose money by selling them. Why do they even sell new games if they're only making like $5? Even new accessories a lot of time. Why do they even bother selling them? Research has shown that, I want to say it was about 85% of people buy games at the place they buy their system from. So a lot of the time, if mom takes Billy to Walmart to do shopping and she finally breaks down and buys him a Nintendo Switch, statistically, she's going to buy more of his games there. So you sold new systems to bring customers in. You sell new games to bring customers in. If they didn't sell new games, they may not get a copy of Red Dead Redemption for months. Weeks, months, days, doesn't matter. When people are super hyped and excited about it, they don't have any. So they have to sell the new games to get people to come in. So when it comes to making money, I mean, you got to keep in mind, they have, at the time I want to say they had like 5,500 stores, and I mean, I've heard some people say like 7,000, whatever. You got to say on average, each of those stores at a minimum has 5 employees. Some of them that are a little bit busier in bigger markets may have 10 employees outside of the holidays. That is tens of thousands of employees. You have DMs, RMs, people that work directly in the field with them. Then you have the multiple warehouses for shipping, processing, receiving, repairs, fixes, all that kind of stuff. Those employees don't directly bring in money to the company. They do things as a support team to the stores who bring in the direct money, but they got to get paid as well. And then of course you have all your, VPs and CEOs and CFOs and CBGBs, all those. They have all those, right? So a lot of people need to make money off this stuff. And from new, there's no money being made. You sell someone a brand new Xbox One and 4 brand new games and a brand new controller, that GameStop has made $0. $0. They have a $1,000 transaction where no money's going in their pocket, because now Xbox Ones now may be slightly profitable, but even then, at best, I think the most I ever saw is near the end of the PS2, we were making $20 off the system when it was $200, $150 or something like that. So it still wasn't huge. So used is where they go. And I'm kind of explaining this because there's a lot of people who really get all butthurt when they go into the store because, they're always pushing pre-orders and pushing used and pushing their discount card and all this stuff on it. It's a business. You decided to go in there. You don't have to go there. No one's forced. You have a million different ways you can get video games. But everybody seems to get so butthurt about it. I personally can handle a pushy salesman a lot more than not being able to find someone. You go to some place like Walmart, they maybe have somebody working in the electronics department, and you have to find them just to look at a game. And they always seem kind of put out by it, like they have way more important stuff to do than helping you. I hate that. I can go to a GameStop, and the guy's going to be like, hey, if you want a pre-order, I think I'll be like, all right, that's the end of the conversation. Hey, do you have a power-up card? I do. Okay, cool. That's it. Or I don't. Okay, here's what it does. Awesome. It's that simple. People get so butthurt that somebody's trying to help them. It drives me up the wall. All right, so now we're talking about used. With used systems, there is a profit margin. Now, the big thing with used that GameStop has the ability to do is they control it. They control the trade-in, they control the price, they control everything. They control it. They don't control anything when it comes to new. They are told how much it is, and that's what it is. Now, places like Walmart love to bully people, bully companies. If most of the time when you see a Walmart exclusive, either exclusive game or like exclusive content or something like that, it's because Walmart has gone to the company and says, hey, we want this game cheaper, or we want this, or we want that. If you don't give it to us, we're going to stop carrying your games. And there's such a huge retailer that companies crumble and say, sure, no problem. You want the game for $45 instead of $55? Fine. GameStop, regardless of how big and menacing they seem to be, they don't have that power. But when it comes to used, they do. Now, GameStop is not setting out to try and screw you over. The whole, oh, GameStop's trade prices are awful and I hate them. I would love to see what people are comparing this to. Okay, now if you're comparing it to a mom and pop, they're complete, a local store run by some guy. They're completely different entities. They're not. It's apples and car doors. It's not even comparing them. If you're comparing them to programs in the past or what you used to get, some of those things don't exist anymore. And there was a reason they don't exist anymore. Giving you guys $50 trade-in for $60 games doesn't last. So, used systems, everything is based off supply and demand, okay? That's how it works. It's based off of supply and demand now and estimated supply and demand later. And I'll give you some examples. I'm actually going to skip systems because I'm going to talk about games on this because this is a big part of it. Plus, I don't have a ton more time. Let's say you buy a game for $60, right? You buy it from GameStop, you go home, you play it, you beat it, you enjoy it, whatever. It doesn't matter what the story is on your end. You take the game in, and in your mind, you're like, I paid $60 for this. Great. You go to trade it in, and they're like $25, $30. Oh, well, that's half or less than half. That is a bunch of crap. I paid $60 for this. Oh, it's that conversation that made me want to, leave that company. Was having that conversation over and over and over again. If you go to Walmart and buy a game for $60 and you take that game back to Walmart, not to return it, you get $0 because they will not take it. If you take it back to Best Buy, I don't know if Best Buy still has a trade-in program. I remember they had it, but their numbers weren't any better. You could sell it on eBay, you could sell it on Craigslist, you might get more, but then it's a whole lot of headache to you. You take it in, you get $30. I have a game, I played it, I traded it in, and now I get half off the next game I want to play. It's all about perspective. You can complain about how much you paid and then how much you get the trade value. Now, you'll have people who will go and buy a game and it'll still be $60, right? It'll be $60 on the shelf, brand new. And you'll take in a game and they'll be like, I'll give you $5 for it. And you're like, what the hell? You sell it used for 50 or 55, or you sell it used for 55, and you're giving me $5. You're ripping me off. The thing that people don't understand, and I'm going to use a game like Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Mind you, it's been a long time since I've worked in the video game stores. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Now, the game was still new. The game was still relatively hot. Okay, so when the game came out, sold for $60, people would trade it in. A lot of the time, you get $25, $30, maybe with special deals of pre-ordering something or buying something, whatever else. You may get $40, $45 I've seen as kind of a high end. Then GameStop sells it for $55. Well, first of all, if you trade in the game and you have the power-up card, and say it trades in for 30, you now get, 33? Okay, so now their profit margin from 30 to 55 has gone from $25 down to $22. Okay. Then if someone buys that used game with the power-up card, it no longer is 50 or 55, it's 50. So now you've eliminated the profit on that game down to $17. Okay. Now, here's the big thing that people don't understand. Supply and demand. The used price is kind of dictated by the new price. If we're still buying it for 55 new and selling it for 60, we're going to sell you a used one for 55. If you have a power-up card, you get it for 50. You're saving $10 on the same game just because you don't get cellophane. Anybody who wants a game to unwrap the cellophane, buy a cellophane machine and quit complaining. That will drive me nuts. Anyways, you have plenty of time to return it. I mean, GameStop, if you have a game that you don't like pre-owned, you go home and beat it and you're like, I wasn't happy with that ending. As long as you do it within 7 days, take it back and get something else. If you spend cash, get your money back. I mean, they don't care. If it's 3 weeks down the road and it's defective, take it in, they'll swap it out for another one. It's one thing that I never understood is that it was pretty much you could keep swapping out games until you found something that made you happy and you wanted to keep. You can't do that at Walmart, you know? Anyways, so yeah, you have this game, they're making about $17. The thing that a lot of people don't know is after about 2 to 3 weeks, most GameStops have, say, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, like say within a month, have 30 copies. 30 used copies. And yes, we sold one a day. Sorry, I punched my mic. We sold one a day. That would be an entire month worth. But the thing is, in that month, we got another 60 used copies traded in. There was a lot of games that were new for 60 on the wall and were used for 55. And we had 100, 150 copies in just my store. The back room just had rows of certain games that we had a ridiculous amount of. Now the problem, now you could say, okay, well, if you have so many, knock the price down. Knock it down to like $20 and you can, you know, you'll blow them out. The problem is that we gave $30, $35, $40 store credit for those games. So by selling them, you've eaten the profit margin. Remember, the profit is what pays everybody. That's what nobody seems to get. The company isn't there to get you cash so that you can pay your speeding ticket or your child support. All stories I've had. We'll talk about that when we talk about customers. Remember I told you this series was going to get a little ranty. It's you're here. It's rant time. Okay. Anyways, used accessories kind of follow the same. They're cheaper than the new versions, and because they can control it, there's a better profit margin. So, and then the systems actually have a profit margin. So, used has to cover the difference for all of new sales. It has to pay every employee in that store, and the DM, the RM, we'll get into those guys later, corporate, warehouses, all that stuff. It's got to pay the electric bill. It's got to pay the trash pickup. It's got to pay all those bills. Okay. Used is the cornerstone. So you're curious why they try and talk up the Power Up Awards card. Once again, statistically, if you have a card that's going to save you money, you're going to go to that place. Every grocery store does it. Almost every place has a loyalty program. Fast food places have it now. Buy 5 Whoppers and you'll get another Whopper, whatever the hell their deal is, right? So they all have these loyalty programs. With the GameStop one, you got, now I know it's changed, so don't go nuts in my comments. We'll get to that later. I'm talking at the time I was there. The card gave you 5% more trade-in on used games and accessories, 5% off used games and accessories. You got points that you could buy stuff online. It used to be cool, then it got kind of crappy, but whatever. And then it got you the magazine. And I always thought Game Informer was actually a pretty cool magazine. So, and at the time, magazine subscriptions were like $20 a year. So it was $20 a year, guys. That's used to drive people. People were like, oh, I don't know if it's worth it for me. It's like, if you come in and spend $10 once a month, that's $1,200 or $120. You take 10% of that, that's $12. That's almost the card. How many of you guys in the comments have gone in and bought a $30 game once a month, a $50 game used once a month, a controller, whatever else? So yeah, but you know, pre-orders drive people in. Pre-orders are to get used. If you go in and watch, when they say, hey, if you want to pre-order anything, trade games in, you can use your old games to pre-order new games. It gets used games in the door, gets them on the shelves, they make a profit. It gets you to buy the new game that maybe once you beat it, you'll trade it in to get something else. The process is pure. It's people getting butt hurt that they feel, I spent $60 on this, I should get $60 on this. In what world do you live? I mean, unless, you know, cars, you can't do that with. Houses, maybe yes. Houses you can invest in, but then the housing market crashes like 2008. We won't get into that. That doesn't matter. Anyways, but yeah, so I wanted to give you guys kind of a framework of how this company makes money. Now, you may ask, well, places like Walmart and Best Buy, they don't sell used, and they sell everything new. How are they making a profit? They're not. They're not. If you go into a place like Best Buy, their video game department is solely there to get you to buy other stuff. Go walk through your local Best Buy. Go walk through your local Walmart. You're going to notice the video games are either in the back of the store or the middle of the store. You can't get to their video games without walking past other product. All that other product makes profit. That's how they do it. It's a risk and reward. It is. They sell the video games. If you notice, your video games are right next to all your other electronics. A lot of those make profit. You have to walk past, when you're at the video game section of a lot of these Targets and places like that, the toy section is right across the street, or right across the aisle. Profit, you know. So that's the big thing, is that these companies have clean hands of it. They're using video games to manipulate you to want to buy other stuff. And that's capitalism. You can love it, you can hate it, it's just how it is. Any company that you've ever heard of is guilty of it. Amazon is guilty of it. Everybody, I mean, any company you can think of is guilty of it. So, yeah, a lot of the time, video games don't make a lot of money, but they're used for manipulation, considering the fact how much money is made. Now, the companies that make the games and the third-party, the distributors and the middlemen and stuff like that, there's money being made there. There is a lot of money being made there. And yes, people complain about EA and microtransactions and loot crates and all this stuff. But the fact of the matter is that's the tip of the iceberg on the money that's being made from this stuff. And actually, the funny part is GameStop dying off the way it is, and all these other companies like it, is literally a way that benefits the game makers, not you. It doesn't, but we'll get into that in another video. So I just want to kind of give everybody an idea of how this company kind of runs and how this company makes money and how many things, you know, if a new system gets stolen, that could literally be you could have a good day. One new system gets stolen, your entire profit margin for that entire day is gone. And it happens. It happens quite often, and you know, so this was basically how GameStop works, and we're going to get into some more things. I want to do a whole video, at least one video, talking about customers. I'm going to try and do it without having this little vein in my forehead blow out all over the camera. And we're going to talk about employees. My favorite part of not managing a store anymore is not my bosses, it's not having employees. I love not having employees. So, all right, guys, once again, thank you so much. This video went a little long, but we're going to get into some ranty stuff. So if you guys like this, I know this video was a little dry and a lot of numbers and whatnot, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's going to set a foundation for some videos coming up. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that little bell so you know when our videos go live. Pinky and the Beard love each and every one of you, except for you. You know who you are. You know what you did. Why are you even here? I'm kidding. I love you all. Go check out our Patreon. Help support what we do, gets us better equipment. Maybe I get corn dogs. I don't know. We'll see what we do. Go check out the Patreon. Some pretty cool stuff there. And until the next episode of Mondays with Modii, got it. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.